for this bill. So this is a change that Wildcat Esports is also looking into doing, and I guess that's the main gist of it.
Do
I
you?
yield.
Thank you. President Gunter.
Can I ask, so I see that our interim Wildcat Esports president's name is on here under miscellaneous as you helped make this. Can I ask for your input on this from the perspective of like someone who's kind of running esports at the current moment?
In terms of reducing GPA, I've seen some students like just miss the mark for a 2.5 GPA in the past. I really just I'm trying to shoot for student involvement. I've been a part of esports as a player as well, and there isn't that commitment that and you're not handling that sensitive information that in Forkhead, someone in the horseshoe, or really any of the officers are going to be dealing with. So having a requirement of 2.5 is really just is a little bit much when in reality it should be good academic standing, in my personal opinion. But in terms of mainly like creating it, it was just kind of adjusting some wording, spelling, everything like that. But I reviewed it and like, it looks good to me.
Do you yield?
Sorry.
Do you yield?
Yeah.
Thank you. President Gunter.
Can I ask our CFB chair, what are the GPA requirements for regular club members and then for club executives?
Club manual that has been updated in about 10 years, it does state a 2.0. But I believe that is something we're looking to increase. Just briefly amongst us in the executive board. Good.
Is there any more discussion? All right. Oh, sorry. I saw Senator Novak first. So Senator Novak.
Anyone else discussion? Because I was going to say if there's no more discussion, I'd like to vote for immediate action. But if there's still no discussion, I'd rather have that go on first. What? I think only I can do that. Oh, only you can do immediate action? Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay.
You have to sign it,
Yeah.
but they can vote on it on the floor.
I guess I yield to our advisor.
Question to, I guess, the author and the person that helped write it. So I see that you've done a lot of research on different athletic groups, different divisions, and things like that. But since our esports team doesn't fall under athletics quite yet, and we don't know when that will happen, or if it will ever happen. And I know that athletics also, or at least our athletic players also have different academic requirements, tutoring and study hours, things like that. Have you looked at any other esports teams, and do they have any GPA requirements? I'm going to yield to Senator Nowak.
So the big thing that I saw when looking at it, that's one of the reasons why I included the rulebook for ECA Esports, which is the league that Wildcat Esports is a part of. They officially have a requirement of GPA of good academic standing with their parent organization, which is whatever the school considers to be good academic standing. That's the only requirement they have. And at least from what I could tell from a quick glance, most schools don't really have a GPA requirement other than just being in good academic standing, similar to just being a club member. But that's at least from what I could see from my research online.
Point of clarification, which schools did you look at to check against?
I mostly checked against other schools in ECAC. I don't fully remember the names off the top of my head. I just have contact with some people that are also in the organization that I've contact with from doing practices with last semester, and I asked them. They were in Missouri, I believe. I don't fully remember the name of the school. I apologize for that, but that's at least what I can find, and also what I found from quick Google searches in which I didn't remember the school because I didn't think about that, and that's my bad. I yield to Wildcat Esports.
Yeah, just to kind of not other schools, but it's just leagues in general in athletics for the competition standards. So ECAC doesn't require, all it requires is good academic standing by the college. Same thing with the SUNY League. Those are the two leagues that we compete in. I'd have to double check with MACE, but I believe it would be the same situation with academic standing. Even, so for athletics, we're a Division III school. That's the same thing with academic standing. If we were Division II or Division I, that goes from that goes up to a 2.2 required GPA up to a 2.5 GPA. But we're not competing at that level. Even in esports, we would probably be even slightly below Division III as an average.
Seeing as there is no more discussion, would we vote on this immediately? I don't think so. It would be tabled, right?
Could I motion to do immediate action on this bill?
Yes. I need a second for that. Does anyone? Seconded by Senator Velez. Is that just any discussion on that motion to pull into immediate action? President Gunther?
The reason why is we have, so ECAC, for whatever reason this semester, decided to have the roster locking for our esports teams be Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The problem with that is that Wildcat Esports was forced to host tryouts and make the rosters done before the school semester even started. So technically, if we adjust our rosters, which currently have people who do not meet the current, who just fall barely short of the 2.5 requirement of GPA, we have that problem now of we can't change our rosters for our team without putting ourselves into Open League. And the problem with Open League is that it makes it so our players have to go against teams that are not, just trying to describe how this situation works is a lot of these games have ranks in them that are have specific ranks, and the leagues work by putting teams that have an average similar rank together. And if you change your roster or get a roster registered after the roster lock, you're forced to face one in which you're facing against anybody instead of players of your skill, if that makes sense. And so if we were to do this, vote on this as soon as possible, we won't have to have that problem of having our teams fight in the unfair open division. And if that makes sense, I yield to our advisor.
Try to make sure that I understand what you're saying. So your rosters for ECAC were due on this past Monday. And so people who were included in that roster potentially could be under the 2.5 as of right now, but they were included in your roster. Is that correct? Okay, so I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's really problematic because anybody who was Bailey did all the work to find every single GPA of every member of SGU, and they were notified that if they were under that threshold, they should have never been included on those rosters because they were all notified that they were not eligible at this time and that we really wanted them to focus on their academics and get their GPAs back up, as any member received that same communication. So if we included them in rosters after the knowledge of their GPA being in jeopardy, that's the problem. I yield to Bailey.
I just wanted to add too, just by lowering it to 2.0, I do recall that what do we do now if there's a student that's under a 2.0? They would have to be removed anyway. So we already are at that point where we might still be in a problematic area. So I just wanted to bring that up as well as, we didn't have the opportunity to do GPA checks before the rosters were submitted. So there is that possibility as well that we might already have to pull members. So with that, I'll yield.
Our treasurer?
If I can ask, when was the roster submitted? Do you recall what time?
Are you talking in Excel to Bailey, or are you talking in ECAC?
ECAC.
So when it comes to the leagues, they're officially kind of closed down as of 2 days ago. roster list that was submitted to Bailey, I believe it was before then. But they also, there is, in ECAC, there's no longer a roster lock, it's a division lock. So you can add and remove players by submitting a ticket to admins.
Thank you.
Our advisor.
So you can edit members, but you can't edit teams. Like once the teams are in, is there a deadline to edit the members?
So
Or did I misunderstand? I'm sorry.
the 21st is the last day that you can have teams registered.
Right. Yep. That makes sense.
That's just the team. You need to have enough players in there, but you can, throughout the semester now, you can
Oh.
switch, like you can pull people out and you can put people in.
And there's not a deadline for that?
There's not a deadline. The only requirement is that it cannot change what division
Your classification.
you're playing in.
I understand. Thank you for the clarification.
Seeing as there is no more discussion, we will move into voting on the motion to pull this into immediate action. All who agree? All who oppose? And all who abstain? Right, that passes 7-0-0. We will now go back into discussion for the bill itself. Okay, we'll now go back into discussion for the bill itself. Is there any more discussion? Our advisor.
The bill, but as a point of clarification, it's a new semester, so I just want to remind everyone of the reason for an abstention. If a bill that you're voting on or a resolution that you're voting on is something that you have a direct relationship with, if it would impact you or there's a direct line, you should be abstaining. Yield.
Senator Novak?
As a question of clarification, so like technically this doesn't affect me as my GPA is above a 2.5, but it affects me because I'm on an esports team. How does it? Should I abstain then? Or okay, thank you. Well, I'm also a graduate student, so I'm at requirement of 3.0 indefinitely. So it's never. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Our Chief Justice.
Just as a rule of thumb for the senators, if you have to stop and think to yourself, like, should I abstain from this? The answer is yes.
What?
I yield.
Our audience member. Senator Novak.
I want to first just point out, FlagFest has nothing to do with the WCE players. That's hosted by the actual stipended members of Wildcat Esports, and it's something that's open to the entire school. Secondly, the current GPA requirement of 2.5 is not even you can graduate with a 2.1 GPA and be completely fine. And it's also unfair, at least in my opinion, to put something that can also be seen as a recreational activity behind such a GPA requirement, as recreational activity is super important for mental health and for dealing with stress and stuff. And as somebody who has to currently meet a 3.0 GPA requirement, just me having to deal with the fact that I have the potential 3.0 GPA requirement as a grad student tanked my mental health to such abysmal levels that I almost had to leave school. And so I think in general GPA requirements are bad, but I don't think having such a high one for something that's so important in recreational, it's important that can also help with students' mental health, because we have seen already that people need breaks. there's a reason why companies have a limited amount of time you can work before it breaks government regulations, because if you don't have that time of break, it destroys your mental health and destroys your physical health and all of that. So I think, again, doing this that way more people can get involved and more people have that way of reducing stress and stuff is very important. I yield.
Right. President Gunter.
To call the question.
Anyone second? Seconded by. So move. Okay.
Yeah.
And now you need a second, or no?
Yeah.
Right. And now, does anyone want a second? Seconded by Senator Mavros. So now we vote on the call to question, right? Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you. All those in favor of going into a call to question? All. Call to question means that you end discussion and move right into voting. All in favor? All who oppose? And all who abstain? All right. That passes 601. Wait, it was 502. Yep, thank you. All right. We will now vote on the bill. All those in favor of passing? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? Yeah, I'm going to do that just to make sure that... Okay. All right, all those... Yes, we're voting on the bill right now. The bill to lower the GPA standards. Yes. Yes. All right. All those in favor? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? Okay, that... Sorry, I'm going to... Because, sorry, it was having the yes and then the move to... Okay, this time for sure. All right. All those in favor? All those who abstain? Or all those who oppose? And all those who abstain? All right, that passes 412. Right, now, yes.
Is it a majority vote for bills?
Yes, it is a majority. And I know you didn't oppose, someone else opposed. All right, so now moving back into old business. Thank you. All right, Bill 2324-16, Senator Byer.
Motion to accept Bill number 2324-16.
Any seconds? Seconded by Senator Velez. Go on, read.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to nullify the current CFB policies and procedures and instate a new CFB policies and procedures.
Right. With that, we will now move into discussion. Right. Treasurer.
So just some clarification on this. This is policies that were passed, I believe, last spring. They take effect this spring, next fall. The Executive Board has reviewed these policies, and we've reviewed them with CFB, and frankly, we don't feel these changes that were made were appropriate. They were done with good intentions, but they're a little rushed, and there's a number of problems with it. And we've been sitting down and talking with CFB about how to create sort of a better policies and procedures. The problem is, given the duration that's assigned to this bill, it takes effect unless we do something about it. And we're looking to pretty much just put it on pause. There's some good ideas in here, and there are some ideas that we're probably definitely going to use, but we don't want the whole policy at the moment. So we're looking to bring it back onto the table in order to vote it down. This would mean that CFP policies and procedures would revert to the policies and procedures that CFP had last semester, which is pretty much how CFP has been running for quite some time. It's what just about everyone's used to. It's sort of the de facto policy, that CFB has been following. I yield the floor.
Senator Novak?
If I could just ask our treasurer quickly, do you know exactly what date the changes come into activation? Because if they don't activate right away, one idea that we could do, just because it was kind of done when these policies were being created, is because when these policies were created, there was some not full clarification on this at the end of last semester, but we did have at least the club executives at the CFB meetings vote on these policies and procedures. And I just want to clarify, we do know we had at least majority of the clubs, because last semester, 2 semesters ago, we only ever froze 4 clubs for not showing up to CFB meetings. So we did a majority of club executives, or at least the club executives who went to represent the clubs as CFB members. So at least 40%, 40 of the clubs, because we had 44 clubs and we froze 4 clubs for not being at CFB meetings, 40 of the clubs voted yes in favor of this. Could we maybe have a thing where we have the clubs re-vote on it at the next CFB meeting, or reintroduce it to the clubs at the next CFB meeting, then have the clubs have a week to go over it with the club members, then have them come back to the next CFB meeting to do vote on it, so that we make sure we are actually getting what the since we're a democracy, we get what the actual people being affected by these policy and procedural changes actually want, if that makes sense. I yield to Treasurer.
That's a great point, and definitely with the CFB policies and procedures that the Executive Board and CFB are looking to bring about, we plan on involving clubs, right? This affects clubs the most, and we definitely want their opinions. We are a democracy, but we're a representative democracy, and the club leaders themselves don't have the power to enact or change policy. The biggest problem with this policy right now is it is starting this spring semester. One of the points of CFB, the new policies and procedures, was that each club would make a budget. They would make a budget and they would submit it to Budget Committee. Now we have 40 clubs. Budget Committee meets weekly, and optimistically, let's say we had 3 clubs done per meeting, right? We're looking at 13 weeks. There's not that much time left in the spring semester, and I just want to add that Budget Committee still needs to make a 25 to 26 budget. We still need to rework financial policy, and as promised in the fall semester, something we definitely plan on doing is revisiting stipends. That's going to take a lot of work, and I'm frankly not sure that we're even going to be able to finish it just this semester. I really think that we will be able to. I'm confident that we can, but it's a lot of work in front of us, and we don't have time to go through 40 club budgets and approve them. The idea behind clubs setting up their own budgets and effectively getting them passed and approved, it makes sense. However, the basis for sort of the tier system that these new policies introduce is based off membership. The problem with that is quantifying club members is challenging. If you look on Engage, most clubs have well over 50 members. Are there actually 50 active members in each of those clubs? Probably not. Are there some alumni still in there that we could remove and get more accurate numbers? Sure. But if you're talking about the difference between, $100 to $1,000 or $5,000 to $10,000, it's pretty easy to get 5 or 100 friends to say, hey, come sign this, be a member of our club. Now our club gets this much money. Now our club gets this much money. The membership basis for funding has some serious problems. That and the fact that we frankly don't have time for clubs to have budgets approved by the end of this semester means that if this stays in effect, right, come fall, clubs will not be able to operate, period. They won't have money, and we won't really have time to give it to them. The current CFB policies and procedures, at least the ones from last semester, are not perfect, right? We recognize that. And the Executive Board and CFB has been working on this, right? We've been working to update it, modernize it, and make sure that the policies reflect the way that CFB actually operates. We definitely want the club's input, but this is going to be a longer process, and it's a process that's going to take probably the rest of this semester. I don't think it's appropriate to try and figure it out in the next week or two. I think it's much more appropriate to just take a step back, put ourselves with the policies that CFB has been running to, that clubs are used to, the way CFB is effectively operating at this moment, and move forward from there. I see a lot of hands. I yield the floor.
President Gunther.
So I have just a quick point of information. We do have 5 other items on the agenda that we have to go through, and 4 of them will require an executive session and questioning periods for those 4. I just wanted to make sure we're staying on topic for our discussions. Not saying we haven't been. Just want to make sure we stay on topic so we can get through all this today as soon as possible. And I yield.
Senator Byer.
I'd like to motion to move this bill, to table this bill until the fall semester 2025. Is that correct? Did I say?
I have a motion to table the bill until fall of 2025. Any seconds? There are no seconds. So that motion fails. I saw your hand first. Senator Novak.
I guess the one thing I just want to ask is like the big problem. One of the big problems with this new policies and procedures is the feel of people being able to take advantage of it to try and get as much money as possible. That has always been a problem with CFB and is a problem with CFB as a whole, as it's kind of always been set up. Because with the current system of, how it works with having to do, because the current TEAL system, it's based off of meeting requirements of meeting fundraiser, events, and community service. It's super simple for me to get 10 of my friends, sign up for a club, have the club approved, apply for the highest membership, and then for us to do events, because you can easily sign up for events, and people don't have to show up to the events for them to count as events, for the count as the requirement. So I can have an event at like 2 p.m. At this room on like 2 Sundays, and then people don't show up to it. It still counts for the club requirement, and then I can do a fundraiser. I can just do a quick bake sales fundraiser of like cookies, to my knowledge, how it works, and then that doesn't have to be the most successful thing either, and that also meets the requirement. And then I could easily go find like a food pantry or something and get all 10 of us to do food pantry hours for that, and that also meets the requirements. So. I mean, like, that's I guess one of the problems is that isn't it kind of like always been like that because it's still gameable in both versions. I yield.
Our advisors.
No, you go first. Doesn't matter. I had a question. I'm going to respond directly to that. Okay, so you're exactly right. You can find 10 of your friends and go do all of the things that you outlined. But that's the beauty of it. You're still doing all of those things. You're still learning all of that. You're still learning how to execute an event from A to Z, reserving space, ordering catering, doing marketing, planning what you're going to do there. Whatever that looks like. That's awesome. You're going to go to a food pantry? There's a million benefits to that. The people on the receiving end are benefiting. The people who are going and volunteering their time are benefiting. That's all really positive. There are some guidelines in the fundraising in Japan about that. Maybe was related to the fundraising. There's a threshold for considered like a successful fundraiser if you're requesting funds as a whole process. But it's okay. Like all of those things are positive, and I could list 10 more reasons why, but I won't bother all of you with those. That's all good things. That's why we make making a club so easy. We tell students orientation. It's really easy to form a club here. Find 10 of your friends who are interested in the same topic and go pursue that topic, whatever that topic is. That's exactly the point of doing clubs. So I think that's okay. I think that's all good stuff. I yield to Dave.
Sorry. I just had a quick question for, I'm going to direct it to the president. When these were created, clubs were informed of them. So what communication has gone out to the clubs for them to know that it's being recalled and that it's back on the table? Have they been given the opportunity to come? Are they aware that they're back on the table? I know that we've seen a couple of clubs this week that have come in talking about the budget that they've created for their club. So just wondering what the communication has been to them. I'm going to yield to the president.
So I actually do not have an answer for that. I really haven't reached out to the clubs. The best person I could ask would actually be our CFB chair, if CFB can give any insight to that, and if clubs have reached out about budgets.
I made the announcements during the last meeting before the end of the semester, last semester, along with this one now, regarding that the policies will not be going into effect, and then that those policies be back on the table this year. And until we get the finalized draft of new policies, we'll send that out to all the clubs once we get them. Get the set of policies, we've at least clean them up better than the state though in the draft. Okay.
Senator Novak.
I know the question wasn't directed to me. It was directed to the president and CFB, but as somebody who was in CFB and responsible for the creation, or at least semi-responsible for the creation of these policies, procedures, when I heard they were being rescinded, I talked to at least the clubs that I knew I could easily get in communication with. So yes, there is a chance that there is bias because the fact that these are clubs that at least the people know me. But I talked to Game Design Club, I talked to Creativity Club, I talked to members of Magic the Gathering Club, and I talked to members of Tabletop Club. And all of those clubs at least were in favor of the policies and procedures which are on the table right now. They told me that they did not want them to be rescinded and that they actually preferred the new policies and procedures. The only one exception that I have for that is one of the ex-presidents and planned to be new advisor of Game Design Club, don't know his full name, which is my bad, because I was only calling him by his nickname. But he was the president for Game Design Club from about spring 2023 to spring 2024. 2024 fall. I mean spring, whatever. Sorry, but he was against it. And I will say, so it's not that like everyone I talked to was in favor of it, but the majority of people I've talked to who are in clubs, which I will admit, this is not everyone. These clubs, several Game Design Club, aren't even the most populous clubs, but these clubs, at least from when I asked the members there, were in favor of the policies and procedures that we put forward in spring 2024. I yield.
President Gunther.
Information. We have about 29 minutes until we move into open forum. Sorry, I'm wrong. We have about 24 minutes until we move into open forum, regardless of what we do, unless we push it back to 1:55. We still have 5 items on the agenda to go through. I yield.
Our treasurer.
I just sort of want to respond, Dan, to your motion. The problem is, this bill was already passed, right? So we can't really table it because it was already passed. We sort of either need to recall it, or we're just going to be out of compliance with our policies for the rest of the semester because, and I wish this wasn't the case, frankly, Budget Committee does not have the time to go through 40 club budgets. Consequently, no clubs will have funds. I request to entertain a motion to call the question.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Fisher? So moved. Thank you. Now I need a second. Seconded by Senator Zapata. We will now move into discussion on the call to question. No discussion? Oh, you just go right in the voting. So, thank you. All in favor of the call to question, please raise your hand. All right. All who oppose? And all who abstain? All right. That passes 6-1-0. Now voting on... Yes.
So I'm going to ask our advisors here because I feel like you would know best. So by voting on this bill, which was recalled/rescinded, whatever the correct term may be, what would a approval of the Senate do, and what would a opposition of the Senate do? What would the outcome be depending on what the vote is? Because this was technically passed last year, and I'm going to specify here. I believe our president last year, President Wadsworth, signed off on this last year. What would voting this in a different or the same way do? And I yield to our advisors.
So if they pass it, it'll do exactly what the bill says. If they deny it, then you're stuck in the state that you're
Okay, I just want to double check on that because I didn't know.
The purpose is to nullify the ones that are effective of like this semester and replace it with the new ones that are in the bill. So if it's voted down, you remain with what was voted last year to begin this semester. Does that make sense to all the people who will be voting?
And it also says too, if this helps, it says that the current CFB policies and procedures will dictate how clubs run, how CFB runs all clubs active in the spring of 2025 until they have approved budgets. So they don't currently have approved budgets, so they're still acting in the current policies until essentially your budget passes, because the club budgets could be within that budget. So until your budget passes, that is when those policies, from whatever rating, would go into effect. So even if you pass it, you'd still be within the policies that are currently active until the budget is passed.
Yes, because, no, you're exactly right, but it's because they didn't request a detailed budget for this semester. So this semester still continues, but in this semester is when we would begin that process to have approved budget by budget committee 4 o'clock. So this semester, even if this is voted down, will continue, but there will be nothing in place for fall. Does that make sense? John
We did call the questions. There's no more.
Yeah, there's no more discussion because we called the question. That was a point of information. Okay, just wanted to make sure that was clear with everyone.
Point of information then quickly. I'm just a bit confused about what yes is and what no is in this situation. So I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. If I vote yes, I'm saying I want the new policies and procedures in the bill to happen. If I'm saying no, I'm saying I want these policies and procedures not to happen, to do it how we've been doing it since, like, for example, spring 2022. Is that no?
No?
Because I'm really confused right now about what yes and what yes.
last part felt like no.
Yeah.
No.
So
You're just voting on the legislation, is essentially, if I'm correct.
the purpose, it says in this bill, the purpose of this bill is to nullify the current CFP policies. And as of today, the current CFP policies are what was voted on last spring. That indicates a request of a budget and that new structure. So if you vote this down, that structure that was voted on last spring stays intact because it was supposed to begin this semester. If you vote this yes, it nullifies that and implements the updated version that was drafted in this bill. That's what it says. I'm just reading your document. I'm not.
Just a point of clarification. This bill is the bill that was passed last spring. We recalled it to the table in order to vote it down. If it's voted down, it would no longer be in effect. So just to clarify to the whole room, if you vote yes on this bill, you're essentially saying these are the policies we want to have. At the moment, if this bill is not brought back to the table, these policies would go into effect this spring semester. The executive board and CFB does not want that to happen. So we brought it back to the table. We would like this bill to be voted down. I'm going to yield back to our president. I apologize for speaking out of order.
No. It's more of a point of clarification. Can't have opinions. No, it's okay.
Point of information. On a no, this would terminate the bill and open new openings to make a new bill for a different semester that is not this semester. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is basically just saying yes, throw this bill into place, or no, take it off the table, go back to our old policy, but that still gives us room to make a new policy. Is everyone good? I'm going to take that as a yes. Oh, sorry.
Point of information. If I were in a club, would I abstain from this? Like, because it could affect me?
I would argue no, because
It's broad-based.
this is way too broad. This affects the entirety of CFP's procedures, which SGU is
If it was about your club
All right.
specifically,
All right.
yeah, if it, like more directly impacted your club instead of just the entire policy. Okay. So all in favor, please raise your hand. All who oppose? And all who abstain. That fails 1-6-0. Okay. Moving on. Resolution. Thank you. 2425-16, Senator Velez.
Motion 2425-16.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Candela. Also, could you flip your nameplate around for me, please? Oh, you don't. That's my mistake. Sorry. Go on and reading that.
Technical difficulties. We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve. What? Oh. Hereby enact as follows. The purpose of this bill is to modify the current wait, that I'm on the wrong one. I'm so like.
It's okay. It's the second one in old business, the club freezing resolution.
I see it. All right. Do hereby resolve, whereas each club that activates must abide by CFB policies and procedures. Clubs have violated CFB policies and procedures, Article 5, Section 4, and Section 7, therefore be it.
We will now move into discussion. Is there any discussion on this bill?
Through.
Oh, the entire?
Yeah.
Okay, my fault. Enacted, the following clubs will be frozen for violating Article 5, Section 4, and Article 2, Section 5, and can be unfrozen by attending 2 consecutive CFB meetings in a row and submitting meeting minutes for their previous meetings. Tea Time Hobbies Club. Resolved, be it finally resolved, the following clubs will be frozen for violating CFB policies and procedures, Article 2, Section 5. Multicultural Student Union, Wildcat Wrestling Club, ASME, Entrepreneurs and Creators for a Better World, SUNY Poly Flag Football Club, Tactical Games and Events Club, Creativity Club, Magic the Gathering, Improv Club, International Student Club.
We will now move into discussion. Senator Novak?
Can I do a motion to move open discussion to 155?
I need a second. Seconded by Senator Byer. We will now go into discussion about moving open forum. CFP?
Open forum.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sorry. Seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting. All those who are in favor? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain. That passes 7-0-0. We are now back into discussion on this. CFP?
The previous meeting, and do we have those on record for this current bill? Because we moved various clubs, but I can't remember off the top of my head which ones we removed.
It should be.
Because they have not been removed from this current iteration of the resolution.
Um,
Because they had flag football, tactical games, Magic the Gathering, ASME.
Yeah, it's in the minutes for which ones were rescinded from there. President Gunther?
So, point of information, last meeting, we removed ASME, SUNY Poly Flag Football Club, Tactical Games and Events Club, and Improv Club from the bill. Or resolution, sorry.
CFP?
Gathering Club is off.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Novak. Any discussion on removing the Magic the Gathering Club? Seeing as there is no discussion, we will move into voting. All in favor? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? That passes 6-0-1. Back into discussion about the bill as a whole. Is there any more discussion on this bill? Senator Novak?
Since the last, at least to my knowledge, since the last SU meeting, some of these clubs have handed in their meeting minutes that were missing. Why are we still punishing them by freezing them, even though they handed in their meeting minutes and no longer break CFB policies and procedures? I yield. Actually, I guess before I yield, I just want to note that as a secretary for Creativity Club, I've made sure that because we were getting in trouble for missing meeting minutes from October, all of the October meeting minutes should have been pointed in. We only needed 2. We should have at least 4 October meeting minutes put in, but we're still being frozen, despite the fact that we have all of our meeting minutes in. I yield now. For real.
Our advisors.
I mean, I'm gonna yield to CFB in just a second. I can see he's working really hard to double check everything, so I'm gonna give him a minute. But I think the reason is probably because deadlines were missed. Like, if it wasn't handed in by the time that it was due, the impacts and it still exists. Like, we still weren't following policy, and as much as I appreciate that you were able to get back in good graces and get in good standing, like, the policy was still broken. So if he decides, as CFB and as the Senate decides to remove you or your club or any club from the list for handing them in late, that's a gift, really, because policy was still broken, if I'm understanding correctly. Yield.
Senator Novak?
CFP policy, though, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong, at least I remember it, was you could get unfrozen for missing meeting minutes by handing in the missing meeting minutes. I yield to Shield.
Our treasurer?
Point of clarification on Robert's rules. The resolution is dated December 5th. If it gets passed now, assuming those clubs have since submitted, December 5th, have submitted their meeting minutes and are attended to consecutive meetings, would they not just be unfrozen by CFB anyways? I understand that's more up to CFB, but I don't see how that's in violation of the resolution itself. It seems to be keeping with the general idea that, you know, we're freezing them only because we have to. We want clubs to be active and running. I yield the floor.
Senator Novak?
Yes, if we're going back to that, I wanted to point out that when this was first put in as Secretary of Creativity Club, I was never told we were missing meeting minutes. I was not the one who got an email that we were being frozen. It was my president and vice president who decided to not even tell me until way afterwards. So therefore, at least if it happened to me, or I'm now getting my club's getting frozen when I was not properly informed of it, this could have happened to all the other clubs, so the secretaries were not the ones listed in the emails, because the original emails were just sent to the president and vice president. So therefore, would it not be fair to then freeze? I yield.
Senator Fisher?
I also was aware last semester was brought up on the table that when the meeting minutes were put in, a lot of times they would just disappear. You would put them in, and then they'd go away, and then you would have to resubmit them, and then they'd go away again. And then I don't know if that's something with Engage, just getting rid of them by accident. So I'm going to yield the floor to Senator Byer.
So I will say, if someone was still emailed within your club, I think that's more of an internal error. I think the email should be sent to everyone. The warning was still sent out there. I also speak on behalf of the error with reporting the meeting minutes. I've spoken to at least 3 clubs, Magic Club, Creativity Club, and Tip-Top Club. They've had problems where they had submitted their meeting minutes, and then the meeting minutes weren't there. I think the warnings were still sent out, and they did miss it, so they were still in violation. And that's all I have to say.
Our audience member? President Gunther?
So, Tea Time Hobbies Club is listed under the enacted section. It is in there on the resolution. Yeah. Yep.
Our treasurer?
Entertain a motion to call to question.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Zapata. All in favor of going to a call to question? All who oppose? And all who abstain? That passes 5-1-1. All those in favor of this bill, please raise your hand. All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? That passes 5-1-1. Moving on to, that concludes old business. Moving on to new business. Resolution 2425-17, Senator Mavros.
Motion to accept Senate Resolution number 2425-17.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Zapata.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve, whereas the Weld County Events Board has unspent funds from their Winterfest event and has unspent funds from their free with ID line with no plans to use it, and wishes to use these funds for contracted events, therefore be it enacted, the student government at Utica Senate considers and confirms the transfer of the $5,430 from the Winterfest line into the contracted events line, and considers and confirms the transfer of $5,000 from the free with ID line into the contracted events line. Therefore, be it resolved, the Winterfest and free ID lines be devoid of funds, and the contracted events line will have an additional $10,430. And be it finally resolved, the Raleigh County Events Board will be able to better cater to the students of SUNY Poly.
Thank you. We are now moving into discussion. Our treasurer.
Request to entertain a motion to modify the whereas to include mention of Webb's travel conference line, to modify the enacted to include mention of moving $9,700 into Webb's contracted events line from the travel conference line, and to modify the amount listed within the resolved to list instead $20,130.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator. Oh, thank you. Right. These up here have to be so moved, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's a good clarification to have. I'm going to write that down eventually. So moved by Senator Fisher. Do I have a second? Seconded by Senator Zapata. Yes, discussion on modifying the bill to meet those ends. Senator Byer. Our treasurer.
So, travel conference is historically used primarily by Webb to attend NACA. It's a conference that Webb's not attending this year. There's this money in this line,
And I've spoken to Webb and its members, and they don't plan on doing any traveling or attending any conferences in the remaining of the spring semester, and that $9,700 just going to sit there.
if you move to contracted events, it can be spent on contracted events. Students have more events to go to. It's just
Better.
Any more discussion? Then we will move into voting. All those in favor? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? That passes 6-0-1. All right, back into discussion for the resolution as a whole with those modifications. Is there any more discussion? Seeing as there is no discussion, we'll move into voting. All in favor? All those who oppose? And all those who abstain? That passes 7-0-0. Next, we have Resolution 2425-18. Senator Zapata.
Accept Resolution
2425-18. Any seconds? Seconded by Senator Candela.
The purpose of this resolution is to confirm. I'm sorry, how do you say that name? Whose name is this?
Point of order. Clarification on how to say the name. Whose name is it?
Fazil.
What's the position?
You can come up to the mic if you want.
Last name?
That's my name.
Fazil Ahmed. 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 Okay. Okay. To confirm Fazil Ahmed as a senator in the student government at Utica. We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, hereby resolve. Whereas the executive board has nominated, can you say it one more time? Okay, Faz. To fill a vacant graduated senator position within the student government at Utica. Therefore be it. The student government at Utica Center consider and confirms the nomination of Faz as a graduate senator. Therefore be it. Be it resolved, the contractual obligation pertaining to the senator position shall be at the end conclude a senator meeting which resolution is adopted. And be it finally resolved, the Senate of Student Government at Utica will have a additional member to represent the students of SUNY Poly.
President Gunter?
So we do have a few resolutions which have a questioning period and a executive session. Can I entertain a motion to do all of our questioning for all of our candidates and then do one clumped executive session? No? Oh, okay, never mind then. Then can I entertain a motion to have a 3-question period following an introduction from our, oh my gosh, from Foz, and then move into executive session following?
I need a so moved. So moved. Do I have a seconded by Senator Byer? Right. And all in favor? All who oppose? And all who abstain. That passes 6-0-1.
Yeah. Yep. So I said have a 3-question questioning period following a introduction from Foz, and then we move straight into executive session.
So can you give us a introduction, Foz?
You're working hard. We need a lot of smiles on faces than serious faces. I'm seeing it's really heating up, and the weather is cold outside, but the room inside is really hot. So we need like smiles like these, you know. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was. Sorry, he said something. I thought he said something official. I thought he was actually joking.
If
That's
you
okay.
have any questions to ask, you can ask me. I'm
Senator
open to
Nova?
answering any questions.
So since, as a fellow grad student, I know grad work can be very time-consuming and very hard. How do you plan on balancing the ratio, like, the workload between being a student government senator and also grad work?
Okay, I think SUNY Poly is not just a place to come and study. It's kind of a sanctuary. I feel like people are very welcoming, very nice, and to make an effort and make a change in the community, you need to take time out. So you have to figure out, many ways in how you can manage your schedule and be available for people, for the community. So I like to give my time here and probably make a change and make a difference here. Like you people smiling for the first time.
Senator Byer?
Sorry. Yeah.
Why did you want to become a senator, and what makes you stand out from the rest?
Of course, because I care about community. I care about people. Everybody is equal. Everybody is unique, and everybody has to have an opportunity, has to have a voice to say, and I'm here to represent them.
Our president.
So, as an international student and as a graduate student, how would you seek to represent both of those, I guess, sort of sections of the student body?
Well, I'll be there for anyone. I have an open door policy. Anyone can come and talk to and share anything they want. That would be, really helpful for them to open up. So I like people to open up. I usually get into conversations just casually. I don't take it really seriously like you guys are taking it. So I'm not that kind of a person. I'm quite unique and opposite to everybody else. So yeah.
All right, with questioning over, we will now move into executive session. Please, all audience members